We will be talking about your employees as the biggest fans if you allow them to be. Now, I can go on for days. You know, we had Justine that talked specifically about making sure people development is part of the process, and Samantha that's talking about the people aspect. But yet you're not giving your employees a voice within the organization. Now, with that in mind, are you creating a space for your employees to be your biggest fans, or are you recruiting those influencers that might show some inappropriate pictures, or that you have no necessarily, brand control over necessarily, but you've got some people that are saying, I have a voice, I have something to say about this wonderful organization. As part of that process, what we need to realize is that people are in the middle of it. And I think people development is something we really need to make sure that we're connecting with. So in a remote world, how are we doing those connects? And that's what Justine and Samantha and everyone that is speaking today is going to be talking about, is really about the people aspect. So did you know 62% of people trust the brand's social media more than its advertising? So you will see something and then you will go and Google the people inside. So what you were now doing probably earlier, Justine was there. So now you started looking at Justine and Justine's team, and how do you then become part of the Nando's brand? It's exactly that. They want to know who you are as a person, and they trust what people are saying about the brand rather than what the advertisement is saying. So maybe a bad example, government and corporate, that people will trust what the people are saying and not necessarily what the corporate or whatever that, whatever that umbrella is. Let the people be sharing the content. Let the people be the voice of that. Employees are now the most important stakeholders. So Samantha touched on that. The percentage of pre-pandemic to now is huge. What are you doing to make sure that your employees are the center focus of your business? Because you know how much time and money goes into recruiting the new person, onboarding that new person, taking them through all the processes, getting them up and ready, and then they leave because you're treating them badly. What we need to do is make sure we're treating our people with respect and being that buffer between you and other people, and supporting and structuring their team in such a way. Critical roles for employers is, my employer is the trusted person, and what you need to know is what the media is saying. So you want to know that your employer is the most trusted institution rather than what the media is saying. You need to be able to leverage that in your own internal employees. Belief-driven employees are more loyal and committed. That's exactly what Samantha was saying. You want to make sure that the person that's coming into your organization believes what you believe within that organization, as in the values. It doesn't help that you get this fantastic salesperson and he's the most obnoxious person, or she, in the team, and actually disrupts the whole team, that the team falls apart, those people leave, and then you're left with one person, and there was a team of 10 when you first started that was actually doing well in sales. You need to make sure that the team will gel with that person. So you have to look at the culture and have to make sure that everybody is brand aligned in terms of that. Belief-driven are also likely to advocate. In other words, oh, we have a position in our organization. It's just like Justine just did. So what she's saying is she believes in her organization and has the same beliefs. Here's some tips. Oh, by the way, if you go to our jobs portal, on LinkedIn, guess what? There's jobs available. Go and take a look. Why? Because she's advocating for business, not because of anything else, but they wanted to make sure they find the right fit for the business. Mind the gap. So there's a lot of organizations that will talk specific, but not necessarily walk it. And people have picked that up, and now to even change that, they're picking up on it even more, and they're starting to talk and walk the values. Because otherwise, you're actually not going to be, it's more transparent. So what we were talking about earlier is social media, and you can see exactly from a brand's presence if they're actually aligning themselves to the values that you're presenting, right? And are the employees aligned to those values? Make sure that you're aligning yourselves correctly. Trust index. So I went and did some research and decided, okay, so what brands are the most trusted brands? And the improvement, trust index from 2020 to 2021. ASA had the most improved trust index. So I was like, okay, let me go and have a look. Now I went to, yes, you guessed it, social media, LinkedIn. Okay, and we had a look. They have the people page, they have the life of ASA, part of the story, part of the journey. They have the people that work there talking about their story, talking about their history, people talking about their careers, because they have their own voice within ASA to be able to give that information. So this video gives you a little bit more insight.
Loves to go home where it's like a clean, nice place, your safety area. So if you think of a bigger scope, this is the Earth.
We are really close to the point of no return for climate change. We have to take action. We can't let it happen.
It's important that we be good stewards of the environment. Many of the initiatives that we have in place are in alignment with that philosophy.
I asked myself what I can do to make a difference. I launched a program to develop closed-loop production.
We start to think about the true value of packaging design. Our goal is using the existing packaging to do something else, to give it a second life.
We are offering our customers the possibility of ordering products by train instead of air. This gives them faster shipments with reduced CO2 emissions.
Sustainability doesn't need to mean compromise, especially if you think creatively.
It's never too late to update our design thinking and method.
It needs to include sustainable material, repairability, upgradability, and recyclability. One thing we think is also important is visual identity. We can be the leader to create this demand for green solutions.
Because change has to start somewhere.
We know some changes may seem small, but if you repeat them a million times, the change will be significant.
So that specifically was for those of you that understand now, they're actually utilizing their own people from around the world to join in that conversation and do a little piece on a video. Guess what? They're going to share that, and their friends are going to share it, and their family is going to share it. Why? Because they're part of the brand. They've been included as part of the process. Their ideas have even been included as part of the brand's collateral and recyclability. That for me is the most important, is making sure that your employees have a voice. So now you see the screen that says, have you Googled yourself? Now that is exactly where your employer brand and where everything else and social media does get picked up. Your branding, your personal branding, your company branding, everything goes back to Google. So you don't want to go viral for the wrong reasons. You want to make an impact. You want to add value. Make sure that what you are adding into that value portal that people are utilizing every single day, you want to make sure that you're adding great information and great value added content into that. Did you know socially engaged companies are 58% more likely to attract top talent? Yes. So think about it. half of you are here because you specifically wanted to hear from Nando's. Why? Because they're a socially engaged organization. And everyone wants to work there because they think it's fantastic because they're so on the edge in their marketing and their ideas. But like Justine was saying, is also she spends 90% of her time doing PowerPoint on Google, on MS Teams as well as Excel. So yeah. Did you know content is shared by employees receives twice the amount of engagement than the same content shared by companies? We've done this ourselves. If we post on our personal profiles, we get so much more engagement than we do on a company page. What you need to start allowing and valuing is your employees' engagement, the people stuff. Not, okay, we don't want the Instagram stuff saying, oh, look at the picture of my food. Look who I'm having food with. You know, great opportunity to actually be live in the session. So you would have seen me kind of engaging just to make sure that the video was working and the audio was on. That's because Paul's also sitting in the same room as me to make sure everything is working smoothly. So she's busy grafting in the background, busy posting and collaborating and checking, you know, spam filters and everything else. But other than that, you need to make sure that people are working together because this is so much fun. People need to know about the people aspect and the people profiles do much better. This is Global Headlines. This is Digital Marketing 101 from Hootsuite. There are 7.8 billion people in the world, and 4.2 billion of those are on social media. How are you utilizing it to maximize your brand and marketing and sales opportunities? Have you got a plan in place to teach your employees to take your brand to the next level? Not influencers, not your employees. Sorry, I get passionate, so you can see. Daily time spent on media. So you can see here, daily time spent on social media is 2 hours. In South Africa, it's 3.5 hours. Yeah, we spend 10 hours on, it's not on the slides. We spend 10 hours on the internet here in South Africa. The rest of the world is, you know, less. We're on, I think, the top 3. The reasons for utilizing the internet, finding information is number 1. So how are they finding information? How are they researching you? What are they finding when they are looking for information? Primary channels, search engines, social media, customer reviews, all the way down, and money that gets spent on blogs and product brands and blah, blah, and discounts. That's not even searched for as much as search engines and social networks because people are recommending. How many of us go into a local group and say, hi, does anyone know of a good plumber? Everybody keeps doing that because I'd rather get a recommendation from someone who's utilized the plumber than just do a search onto a social, on a search engine. 82% of buyers have viewed at least 5 pieces of your content from the winning vendor. What does that mean? When you are connected in such a world that your procurement department is looking at all the executives and the salespeople and the organization before they approve that this is the next supplier of that specific product. What is that information you are sharing? What is the information that your employees are sharing? And is it of value that it will help them make a decision to say yes to you as a brand? 68% of customers feel more positive about a brand after consuming the content. So imagine this. I'm connected to, is it Asa? Asa was part of the presentation. I'm connected to 20 of the executives. There's this huge proposal that's going in for employee brand engagement. Put the proposal in, but while I'm putting the proposal in, I just connect with all the managers, executives. I don't know who's sitting on the procurement board. All I know is I want them to know my name. I want them to personally know who I am. That way, you have a process of getting your name out there and feel more positive about you and your brand before they even look at the proposal. So when the proposal comes, oh, I know this person. Giving you a practical example. 9-step checklist to building out your employee advocacy program. So set clear goals. Do you want to drive the brand awareness, sales, new hires? What is that? Each team, maybe you want to do all three. And what are those specific teams looking like? What, who is really passionate about the business and talent management? Who's really passionate about sales and getting the product and going in front of the video and saying, how's it? Think about the person behind the brand, the goal that you're trying to. So don't try and get, Mr. IT guy that doesn't even want to be in a photo, let alone on a live video or something, to try and be your brand advocate. He doesn't want to be that. He'll help you elevate and he'll comment and share, but he's not going to be someone in the forefront. Kick off with a strong team. So enlist your most socially active. So that talks to the point about don't employ the IT guy to start being in front of the camera. If he's not, I know a few IT guys that love the camera, but they're very few because they like the computer more. Have a policy. So make sure that there's a policy in place that protects the employee as well as the employer. And that policy is usually driven with human resources alongside with a lawyer, just to make sure that there's a proper checklist going with that. That you would have to check with lawyers to make sure, and HR advocates on that. Teach the how and the why. And this is important because a lot of people, they know Instagram. Okay. But we're a B2B organization. Yes, Instagram will get some engagement, but it's not going to get necessarily the people that you really want. In other words, the executives that is buying a system, for instance, don't have time for Instagram. They're not sitting there. They're sitting on LinkedIn. Have you given them the training and the tools to enable them so that they understand how better to use LinkedIn? Because I think, in the 5 years that I've run my business and before that, I have come across so many people that just, LinkedIn is just too complicated, so I just leave it. Maybe every now and again I click a like button, but that's about it. What we need to do is learn how to use it. What is the power of a system from a social media perspective and the ways to improve it, and teach our employees to do that. Identifying your team, so tap into the core, cross-functional, long-term, that will help curate the content so that it's not just by one person, because if you've only got one person view looking at content, we tend to have this narrow effect. You're like a horse and we're just going in the one direction. I am almost 100% sure that from a Nando's perspective, if we were in the Nando's position, some of us would say, oh, not that one, right? Not that advert, right? But they're creating some of their content, kind of like, why not? And kind of give you reasons and have that discussion. And then, okay, well, let's do it. You don't know what the reasons could be and what the long-term effect. So make sure that you have a team that's helping curate the content, that it's not just one person, the marketing director that says yes or no, or the sales director. Remind employees to set up daily or weekly emails to push notifications out to help engagement on the platform. So in other words, here's the link we just posted, please engage. Create incentives. So within LinkedIn, you have a social selling score that you can track and manage. And you can actually do that through the social selling and say, oh, the most improved for this month was, John, and he gets, 200 Rand Woolies voucher. You know how many people will do something for a 200 Rand Woolies voucher? And I'm talking about brands, I'm not talking about dollars for everyone else that's overseas. Track metrics. So for people overseas, it's probably about $5 or $2. It's not a lot. Track your metrics. So make sure that your employee reputation metrics are affected by the content in a positive way. And then optimize regularly. So as a team, what we do is we look at the content and we go, oh, that one's doing really well. let's create content that has similar kind of look and feel, but says a different message. And let's see what that does. Or let's tap into that specific content idea and expand on it and create more content around that specific idea, because that's what people are interested in. It's time that human resources, sales, and marketing teams start working together and not in silos, because this is the way you are going to get brand retention, brand awareness, talent retention, sales, the list goes on. It improves everything if everyone just actually starts working together.